what is LSU going to be in 2024? This is not a preview. This is not a full in-depth analysis of the entire program and what it could be in 2024. This is more just, getting my thoughts out and seeing, if there's any pushback on some of these opinions. And, I guess not to quote Josh Pate, but like sell me on LSU because their win total is 9.5 right now in May. And there's a lot of confidence of that they'll hit that mark and it'll be over. And there's a lot of confidence in Garrett Nussmeier, which I understand. I've changed my tune after, reevaluating what Garrett Nussmeier could be at quarterback. I understand the hype. And I don't even think quarterback's going to be the problem with LSU this year. But the concerns I have are growing. And, as I look over my SEC tier list, I kind of placed him in a spot with just pure confidence. And as I reevaluate and look it over, are we 100% sure that they're going to go over 9.5? Is it just this lock that they get 10 plus wins? I mean, they've done 10 plus in back-to-back seasons. Now, to be fair, they went 9-3 last year and then got the bowl win. So I'm not trying to discredit that, just give a little bit more context. And my biggest fear right now is, did they make enough moves on the defensive side of the ball to be enough of a threat that they're potentially in SEC title contention? Now, right now, I would slot them as potentially the 5th best team in the SEC, which is not a bad thing at all. In the best conference in the world, they are number 5 with teams like Ole Miss, Georgia, Texas, Alabama, and you could throw Tennessee into that contention. And honestly, you could slide LSU up a little bit higher, but I want to hear the argument why. Outside of, that is me believing that Garrett Nussmeier is going to be good. I have no doubts in that. I have no doubts in the wide receiver room. And I think the offensive line, even though they lost a starter, they still have high-end NFL talent in that position group. And I will even give you the secondary I fully expect to be improved. That's where a good chunk of their transfers, even though they swung and missed on a lot of transfers in the spring window. They had they were one of the losers of the spring transfer window. Just flat out, they missed on some key guys. But even with the coaching hires on the defense side of the ball, and you know what, I'll give you some improvement in the secondary. The front 7 concerns me outside of Harold Perkins. And speaking of Harold Perkins, make the move to, I believe it's off-ball linebacker. That's what a lot of LSU fans are clamoring for. If he's not going to be able to develop, some pass rushing moves off the edge, because he has an incredible first step. The dude's one of the most athletic players in all of college football. There's no doubt around that. But I think the problem is how he was utilized last year, coming in with so much hype. There's only so many things you could do with a player at his size, just sliding him on the edge spot. I think it would be much better. The same thing that the Cowboys say about Micah Parsons. Obviously, he doesn't have the size of Micah, but putting him into an off-ball linebacker role where he's able to roam a little bit more, I think that's where he's best utilized. I mean, hell, the dude had 4 sacks against Arkansas because he was able to run a QB spy and then blitz the guy as soon as he was going to make a move. The dude is still one of the best defenders in the entire SEC, which is really saying something when you add Texas and Oklahoma. But let's look outside of that. Coaches, a lot of the times, are going to be very upfront about their needs in the transfer portal. Brian Kelly was very honest when he said that they needed defensive line help in an interview. They swung and missed on some guys in the spring transfer window. That's just the flat out truth. And when you lose 2 guys to the NFL, and I don't want to hear the argument of, it could be addition by subtraction. They were one of the worst defenses in the entire school's history. I think the defensive talent that left that room is still impactful, especially knowing you have much better coaching, or projected on paper much better coaching in that university. So I fully understand that defense is going to probably improve. Coaching really does make an impact, but is it going to be this substantial jump to a top 25 program when it comes to the defensive side of the ball? I really don't know if that's the case. And you could argue, well, hey, if they had just a slightly better defense last year, they would have made the college football playoff. Well, they also had a historically offensively great player. The amount of impact Jane Daniels had on that offense was incredible. Fully understand you have Malik Neighbors, and you also have Brian Thomas Jr. and a great offensive line. But also, you had the rushing impact of Jaden Daniels. And this running back room, outside of when you lose Jaden Daniels, what was that running back room realistically? And Garrett Nussmeier is not going to be this major threat with his legs. So you got to have some more impact in this rushing game. And I like their wide receiver room. Like, that's not an issue for me. And I think their passing offense is not going to be an issue, but you're going to have to run the ball. It's the same logic I had for them whenever they were the 5th team coming into the preseason, which I understand preseason polls are stupid. Fully understand that. But I had the concerns when, we're looking at teams and you have all these things that have to go right. The secondary has to go right. The linebacking room has to improve, where you have to utilize Harold Perkins in a more, efficient way where you're going to get more production out of him. The defensive line is going to have to improve very quickly with the pieces that are already there and not from the additions from the transfer portal, which would have been really nice. You're assuming the offensive line is going to stay healthy, but you can apply that with damn near every single team. You're going to have to assume that Garrett Nussmeier is that guy, which I think he is. The wide receiver room is just not going to be a concern for me with LSU. And the running back room, someone really is going to have to step up, because I just don't know who's going to be that guy to be able to match the production that a guy like Jaden Daniels, or, a committee of guys that can match the level of production that Jaden Daniels had. They're just replacing a lot. And I think there's a lot of questions on top of the already big concerns with that defense. But on the bright side, they have good coaches in place. And realistically, they probably could hit that 10-win mark. But I just need someone to sell me a little bit more. Maybe I'm not aware of something. I know the freshmen that are on that defensive line and that running back room, but are they going to be substantial impact guys day one? Because the guys that are already in place, I'm not so high on. But let me know your thoughts. Sell me on some LSU stock, because I'm just not buying right now. I'm buying more a 9-3 record, 8-4 than I am, 10-2, 11-1. And every game matters when we're talking about this new age SEC.